Words that count. Introducing quantifiers. Have you ever wondered how to say a lot or a little in English without using those exact words? That's where quantifiers come in. They are special words that tell us the amount of something. We use them all the time. Think about words like some, many, few, or much. These are all examples of quantifiers. Quantifiers are your secret weapon to speak and write more naturally. They help you avoid mistakes and sound more like a native speaker. Plus, they add variety and precision to your sentences. Imagine saying I have many friends instead of just I have friends. See the difference? In this essay, we're going to dive deep into the world of quantifiers. We'll explore how to use them correctly with different types of nouns. Get ready to become a quantifier master. Can you count it? Countable and uncountable nouns. Before we jump into the specifics of quantifiers, let's talk about nouns. Nouns are words that represent people, places, things, or ideas. Now here's the important part. Nouns can be countable or uncountable. Countable nouns, as the name suggests, are things you can count. You can have 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples, and so on. Other examples include books, cars, and houses. Easy, right? Uncountable nouns, on the other hand, represent things you cannot count individually. You can't have 1 water or 2 waters. You can have a glass of water, but not a water itself. Other examples include air, information, and advice. Why is this distinction important? Because different quantifiers are used with countable and uncountable nouns. Mastering this difference is key to using quantifiers correctly. Many apples. Few mistakes. Quantifiers for countable nouns. Let's start with quantifiers used specifically for countable nouns. These are words that help us describe the quantity of items we can count individually, like apples, books, or students. These are your go-to words when you're talking about things you can count. They help us specify amounts clearly and accurately. Many is a common quantifier used in questions and negative sentences. It indicates a large number of items. For example, you might ask, are there many students in the class? This question seeks to know if the number of students is large, or say, I don't have many books on this topic. Here, many is used in a negative sentence to indicate a lack of a large number of books. A few indicates a small number, suggesting it might not be enough. It's often used to imply that the quantity is limited. Imagine you're baking a cake. You could say, I have a few eggs, but I need more for the recipe. This shows that the number of eggs you have is insufficient for your needs. Few, without the A, also indicates a small number, but it emphasizes scarcity. It suggests that the number is not just small, but almost negligible. For instance, you might say, few people attended the concert because of the bad weather. This highlights that the attendance was very low. Other quantifiers for countable nouns include several, a number of, each, and every. Each of these words helps to specify different quantities and contexts. Each of these words has a slightly different meaning, so pay attention to how they are used in context. For example, several indicates more than a few but not a large number, while each and every are used to refer to all members of a group individually. Much water, little time. Quantifiers for uncountable nouns. Now let's move on to quantifiers used with uncountable nouns. These are essential tools in the English language, helping us describe quantities of things that cannot be counted individually. These quantifiers are your friends when you're dealing with things you can't count individually. They help you convey the right amount of information without needing to specify exact numbers. Much is often used in questions and negative sentences, similar to many for countable nouns. For instance, you might ask, is there much traffic today? Or say, I don't have much time to finish this project. You might ask, is there much traffic today? This helps you understand the extent of the traffic situation without needing an exact number of cars. Or say, I don't have much time to finish this project. This indicates that the amount of time you have is insufficient for the task at hand. A little indicates a small amount, suggesting it might be enough. For example, you could say, we have a little milk left, just enough for our coffee. This implies that while the quantity is small, it is sufficient for your needs. For example, you could say, we have a little milk left, just enough for our coffee. This shows that even a small amount can be adequate in certain situations. Little without the A also indicates a small amount, but it emphasizes scarcity. Imagine you're lost in the desert. You might say, there's little hope of finding water out here. This highlights the dire situation and the minimal chances of success. Imagine you're lost in the desert. You might say, there's little hope of finding water out here. This emphasizes the scarcity and the critical nature of the situation. You might say there's little hope of finding water out here. This underscores the severity of the situation and the minimal chances of finding what you need. Other quantifiers for uncountable nouns include a bit of, a great deal of, and a large amount of. These phrases help you describe varying quantities with more precision and a large amount of. These quantifiers allow you to express different degrees of quantity, making your communication more effective and nuanced. Like their countable counterparts, these quantifiers add nuance and precision to your sentences. They enable you to convey the exact amount of uncountable items, making your language richer and more descriptive. Section 5. A lot of everything quantifiers for both. Here's the good news. Some quantifiers can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns. These versatile words are your secret weapon for talking about quantities in general. A lot of and lots of are your go-to phrases for expressing a large quantity, regardless of whether the noun is countable or uncountable. You can say a lot of books or a lot of information without any problems. Some is your friend when you want to talk about an unspecified quantity. It works perfectly with both countable and uncountable nouns. For example, you can say, I need some apples for the pie, or I need some advice on this matter. Other quantifiers that work with both types of nouns include any, enough, plenty of, most, all, no, and none. These words are essential for expressing a wide range of quantities and ideas. Section 6. Tricky quantifiers, less versus fewer and more. Now let's tackle some tricky quantifiers that often cause confusion, less, fewer, and more. Less is used with uncountable nouns, while fewer is used with countable nouns. This is a common mistake that many English learners make. Remember, less water, fewer bottles. More is the opposite of both less and fewer. It can be used with both countable and uncountable nouns. More books, more water, you got it. Mastering these three quantifiers will significantly improve the accuracy and naturalness of your English. Pay attention to the type of noun you're using and choose the appropriate quantifier. Section 7. Common errors and how to avoid them. Even native English speakers make mistakes with quantifiers from time to time. Here are some common errors and tips to avoid them. 1. Using much or many in positive sentences. In formal English, it's more natural to use a lot of or lots of in positive sentences. For example, instead of saying I have many friends, say I have a lot of friends. 2. Using less with countable nouns. Remember, less is for uncountable nouns, while fewer is for countable nouns. Say fewer cookies, not less cookies. 3. Forgetting to use of after certain quantifiers. Some quantifiers, like some, most, and all, require of when referring to a specific group or quantity. For example, say some of the students, not some students. By being aware of these common errors and practicing regularly, you can avoid them and speak and write more confidently. Section 8. Practice makes perfect tips for mastering quantifiers. Mastering quantifiers takes time and effort, but it's definitely achievable with the right approach. Whether you're learning a new language or refining your skills, understanding quantifiers can significantly enhance your communication. Here are some practical tips to help you on your journey. 1. Practice regularly. Consistency is key when it comes to mastering any new skill, and quantifiers are no exception. The more you use quantifiers, the more natural they will become. Engage in conversations, participate in discussions, and don't shy away from using new words. Try incorporating them into your everyday conversations and writing. Whether you're texting a friend, writing an email, or even journaling, make a conscious effort to use quantifiers. 2. Pay attention to context. Context is crucial in understanding how and when to use different quantifiers. Notice how quantifiers are used in different situations. Observe native speakers and how they naturally incorporate quantifiers into their speech. Read books, watch movies, and listen to music, paying attention to how native speakers use them. This will give you a better understanding of their practical application. 3. Focus on the noun. The type of noun you're dealing with will often determine which quantifier to use. Before choosing a quantifier, always identify whether the noun is countable or uncountable. This distinction is fundamental in selecting the appropriate quantifier. This will help you narrow down your options and choose the correct word. 4. Make flashcards. Flashcards are a tried-and-true method for memorization. Create flashcards with quantifiers on one side and examples on the other. This method allows you to test yourself and reinforce your learning. This is a great way to memorize them and test your knowledge. Regularly reviewing these flashcards will help solidify your understanding. 5. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. Everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. The key is to learn from these mistakes and not let them discourage you. The important thing is to learn from them and keep practicing. With persistence and the right strategies, you'll find yourself mastering quantifiers in no time. Section 9. Keep counting. Conclusion. Congratulations! You've reached the end of this quantifier adventure. You've learned about countable and uncountable nouns, explored different types of quantifiers, and discovered common errors to avoid. Remember, practice is key to mastering any new language skill. Keep using quantifiers in your everyday life, and you'll be surprised how quickly they become second nature. Happy counting!